This meditation is called Painful versus Non-Painful Mind States, and it's designed to go with the Yoga Sutra of Pantanjali, Book 1, Sutra 5. But as with any of my meditations, you can use them at any time, especially in regards to any of my courses having to do with the Peaceful Self process. And before you begin, do make sure you're in a quiet place where you will not be interrupted. And if you need to, have something to write with during and after to make notes. This is a meditation on joy and sorrow, so that no matter which one is happening at any moment in your life, you learn to honor both. Let's begin. Your joy is your sorrow unmasked, and the self-same well from which your laughter rises was oftentimes filled with your tears. And how else can it be? So using the first line of this poem by Khalil Gibran, consider, what are you dealing with right now? Is it a joy? Is it a sorrow? How is that which you rejoice in, that which brings you laughter and delight? How is that something which often is contrasting to something that gave you sorrow, that brought you pain? Now flip it around. How is it that something you may be experiencing as sorrowful right now has to do with something that you feel would give you great joy if you had it back again, or gave you joy if you once had it in your life, or you believe would bring you joy? Now consider again, how is your joy, your sorrow unmasked? How is the self-same well from which your laughter rises often filled with your tears? And is it fair to expect it to be otherwise? Do not both joy and sorrow have value in your life? Do not painful states and painless states both have something to offer? Consider this. The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. Is not the cup that holds your wine the very cup that was burned in the potter's oven? Consider again, what is your relationship to sorrow? How has that possibly carved out a deeper sense of who you are? A deeper sense of appreciation, a deeper sense of connection with others, including connection with their joys and their sorrows. How has this made you more aware, awake, sensitive, especially if you stay open to it instead of become hardened and bitter? And is not the lute that soothes your spirit the very wood that was hollowed with knives? Think about that which you want to soothe your spirit. What kinds of sacrifices were made to bring that kind of comfort to you in the way of time, money, labor, attention? How can you be more open to allowing that kind of soothing comfort to come into your life? How can you be more humble? How can you hollow out your own ego with a knife so that it can contain more of that which can soothe your spirit? When you are joyous, look deep into your heart, and you shall find it is only that which has given you sorrow that has given you joy. Meditate on this. How can this be so? Think of something which you are so happy for, so joyful for. Notice, is there any sense of relief that you can once again smile, be happy, feel more open, feel more humbled, feel more grateful? How is it that everything that brings you joy may have sorrow connected to it? When you are sorrowful, look again in your heart, and you shall see that in truth you are weeping for that which has been your delight. Meditate on this, and just spend a moment deepening this insight of joy and sorrow. So often we expect one to be there without the other, or we believe only one can be there without the other. How can we embrace them both, see the value in them both? Some of you say joy is greater than sorrow, and others say nay, sorrow is the greater. But I say unto you, they are inseparable. Inseparable. Now consider how it is neither pain or pleasure. It is the way we approach either that is essential. It is bringing the hands together in namaste, in honoring. Together they come, and when one sits alone with you at your board, remember that the other is asleep upon your bed. Again, how can we create the mindset? Hands together, namaste, honoring that at times we will be present with pleasure, at times we will be present with pain, at times we will be present with joy, at times we will be present with sorrow. How can we always honor that one is always there with the other, although one seems to be at the board or the table when the other is asleep on the bed? Verily, you are suspended like scales between your sorrow and your joy. Only when you are empty are you at standstill and balanced. So what is it that needs to become empty? How can your ego become empty of entitlement that only you should feel happy and should not feel pain, or that only you are the one that suffers and you cannot feel joy? How can you let that go? How can you joyfully participate in the sorrows of the world? How can you approach life at a standstill and balanced, poised, and at peace? That doesn't mean avoiding the sorrow or the pain. That means sitting with it, observing it, being with it, being present to it, and honoring it. How can you achieve that regarding whatever you're going through in your life? When the treasure keeper lifts you to weigh his gold and his silver, needs must your joy or your sorrow rise or fall. So ends the poem Joy and Sorrow by Khalil Gibran. And again, conclude this meditation by taking some time to see what realizations come to you about how you approach joy or sorrow in your life, painful or pleasurable experiences, and how can you approach either of these with a mind state that causes peace.